So I'll just share my screen there now if you just hold on 1 second. I am also, if you would like to ask any questions, please feel free. I'm more than happy to answer any, whatever way suits you best. So let me just double check that that's working there now, Quiva.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Beautiful, lovely. So, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. And I hope that you've enjoyed the day so far. I know I have for sure. I've really enjoyed listening to people, and the talks have been fantastic. And I mean, I always love the student panels. They're always my favorite, getting to hear, from the ground, what's happening. And it's so great that they can be so honest. And because if we don't know the problems, how can we help? So absolutely fantastic to see the students here today. So as Quiva mentioned, I'm going to be talking a little bit about assistive technology today. So AT is kind of the acronym for that. And I'm going to kind of talk about how you can discover the tools and technologies that can support your learning. So this session will kind of talk about some real life examples of assistive technology in education and kind of go through the process of how you might decide or find out which one might suit you. So I'm going to start with kind of defining assistive technology or AT. So you can kind of get different answers depending on who you ask. But in general, assistive technology is an umbrella term for assistive products that help maintain or improve an individual's functioning related cognition, communication, hearing, mobility, self-care, and vision. So that's a huge definition, but essentially it can apply to a wide range of things. It can apply to things like I have on the screen. So I have a picture of some glasses. I know I rely on my glasses here. There's actually a picture then of a cane there as well that could be considered by some as a piece of tech. And then there's also like the very low tech kind of end of things like a little pencil grip. So generally, when people talk about assistive technology or AT, they're kind of talking about things that are more maybe on the high tech end of the spectrum. And what I mean by that is I'll show you in a second. But they could also encompass a wide variety of assistive products as well. So this is the kind of spectrum I was talking about. So on the screen, I kind of have an arrow that goes from low tech or no tech all the way up to high tech. And I have a couple of different examples that I'm going to talk you through. So for the low tech ones, we have like a pencil grip, like I said, that could be considered one. Or if anyone ever used the kind of colored sheets of paper that you use to put over a physical book to kind of create a color filter for your book. So that's kind of the low or no tech end of things. And we also have a specific typer or a typing machine. So this one in the middle here, it's a Dymo, I think it is. But this is a specific machine for typing on. Say if a regular or a standard keyboard maybe might not work for you. There are also different options for different keyboard layouts maybe that might work best for you. Say if you have maybe only full mobility in maybe one hand, things like that that can help you to really continue on to type. The next one then that a lot of people don't really think about as an assistive technology is the spelling and grammar function on the likes of Word or Google Documents. So the spelling check or the grammar function for excuse me, on Word and on Google are actually a piece of assistive technology that's built in to these pieces of software that you already have. And they can be so helpful. I mean, I know I constantly have the spell check on, and it's helped me so much. Going again to the slightly higher tech version of things is I have a little symbol there for the kind of Apple accessibility tools that are built in on your phone. So I have an Android, but it's a similar one. So these are kind of things like a screen reader or maybe text to speech or speech to text or voice typing. I also then have a picture of one of these smart home devices. So an Alexa. I made the mistake of saying that name in one of the webinars and activated about four people's months. So apologies, I spell it now. But these Amazon smart devices, or whatever that may be, maybe it's a Google Home, but these are actually can be used as a piece of assistive technology as well. And then on the kind of high end of the spectrum, we have things like, say, Jaws, which is indicated by the little logo with the shark there. And what that is it's a specific screen reader software, mainly used by those with visual impairments, but can be used for a lot of different reasons. But that is a very specific type of software, a particular kind of specialized piece of tech there. So the range is huge. There's so many different things that we can consider as assistive technology or assistive products. So it can be really, very, very wide. I have a little bit here, and I've kind of touched on this already, but about where assistive technology can be. So I have a couple pictures here of just a phone, a desktop computer, a tablet, and then like a specific kind of device. So as I mentioned, you can have inbuilt assistive technology. So if I go back to my Android here, I have the text to speech and the talk back function on constantly pretty much. And I have adjusted my settings so that I have kind of captions that come up on my phone that are built in already to help me when I'm using my phone. And then also moving on to my laptop, I also have similar things. So I'm set up here for work with my laptop on my second screen, but I actually have changed those settings that are inbuilt there to make sure that the screen has a different kind of color tint so that I can see it better. And also that it's not putting too much of a strain on my eye. And again, I have the built-in Windows captions as well, so that even if a piece of media doesn't have captions, Windows will kind of come and in and give me some automated captions, which is great. You could also obviously have them on tablets or iPads. I know a lot of schools these days use the tablets. So you may be used to using this in secondary school, maybe. They have a lot of those settings as well, and a lot of different apps that can be used, particularly around people who use maybe alternative methods of communication. So you might have seen maybe a soundboard or a word board, which is like one of those kind of controllers where you click the buttons and it speaks your words for you. And then you have on the very, very other end, you have very specific devices. So this is where I'd go back to the likes of JAWS that I mentioned previously. These are kind of standalone devices that are built for a specific purpose. So you may be familiar with the reader or scan pens, or the C pens they're usually called, that you might have seen in your school or in college, where it's like a kind of chunky pen and it has a little recording option on it. Or maybe it has a little scanner where you can scan text on a page and it kind of reads it out to you through earphones or through, out loud. So there really is a huge, huge range of assistive technology out there. And you can find a bunch of different types. So I'm going to go through some use cases now and some kind of user stories around assistive technology to give you an example or give you an idea of kind of the variety there. So on this screen, I just have a few different people up there. I have Val, Aideen, Rogerio, Eric, and Maria. And I just have then underneath them, I have just little cartoon profile pictures just to spice it up a little bit. And I also have mentioned then their condition or what they're looking for help with. So for Val, she has dyslexia and she registered with her disability service, and they recommended that she used Text Help Read and Write Gold. So what that is, and actually I believe it's actually changed its name again for a third time. So I do need to update this slide. But this is essentially a a really beefed up version of spelling and grammar check from Microsoft or from, built in Word or whatever. So it's a really kind of strong version of that, and it can be used throughout your whole computer. And it also kind of has a built-in reader in it as well, so it can read text too. Then we move on to the second one, which is Aideen, and it's mentioned here that she has a hand impairment. So she doesn't have full mobility in both of her hands. So what she has is she has something called Dragon or Dragon Naturally Speaking. So this type of software is a speech to text software or a voice typing software. Now, it does more than that, but in this case, Aideen is using this as a way to control her computer with her voice. And that is a specific piece of tech that has to be set up and, kind of trained with her voice. But she gets there in the end after some training. Rogerio, then we have who has a visual impairment, and what he's doing is he's doing maths, I believe, and what he uses is he uses this thing called an Optiverso. Now, that's the brand name for this one, but there's a lot of different ones. Essentially, it's an optical scanner. So it kind of looks like a big arm tied into his laptop. And they're becoming less prominent now because of kind of the digital learning environment. But what this does is that it would say they have some notes from their lecturer physically on a sheet of paper. Then it has a little camera that scans the notes and then puts it to his computer so the computer then reads it out loud for him. So it's maybe where he can't quite read the text on the page, and then that's how that technology helps him. Less often used nowadays because of all of our kind of phone technology and digital learning. Most things are online anyway, but still an important one to know. Then we have Eric, who has a hearing impairment, and he uses what's called a loop system. So I have a couple different pictures of them there, but essentially what that means is that the lecturer wears a little microphone pack around their neck, and then that just means that the sound that they're speaking can come to Eric's hearing aid that he has. So he's got that set up then to make sure that he can hear what's actually happening in the lecture. This is particularly useful if you go to maybe one of the larger colleges, like someone mentioned earlier, where you could have, 500 people in one room and, the lecturer's at the very front and you can't really, you're too far away to lip read maybe. So this can be very helpful for those kind of situations. And then again, at the end, then we have Maria, who is blind. So she uses a combination or maybe one or the other of the screen readers that I mentioned earlier. So we have the JAWS screen reader, and then we also have one called NVDA, or sometimes I hear people go NVIDIA, which is kind of fun. Um, but NVDA, the screen reader. So she uses that specific bit of technology. So I'm going to just briefly talk about this. This is probably more relevant for those of you, maybe I know we have some guidance counselors or AT officers in the audience today, so maybe this is a little bit more useful for you, but this is what's called the SETT framework for assistive technology. So SETT stands for Student, Environment, Task, and Tools. So it's kind of like a way of assessing what technology might be useful for a learner. So it says it's a four-part model that promotes collaborative decision making in all phases of assistive technology service. So what they do is they look at the student. So what are the students' learning needs? What are their kind of, strong abilities? What maybe barriers are present mainly? And then they look at the environment. So what materials and equipment are currently available or needed in the environment? Then the tasks. So what are the tasks that the learner needs to complete? So maybe there is a specific type of, maybe you need to be able to type or you need to be able to present a slideshow or something like that. And then at the final stage, then you get and you use the tools then. So whether they're high or low tech tools to address the needs of the learner. So this might be more useful for those in kind of the AT officer world, but it's always useful for learners as well to know kind of how things are generally assessed or decided on. So we have often heard from learners, and this is actually something maybe that is, I don't know, anecdotally has kind of lessened maybe, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that. But about kind of the stigma or the rate of abandonment of assistive technology. So yes, you can have, the best assistive technology, but when the environment that you're using that is unsupportive, or there's maybe negative perceptions, or you've had a bad experience, it can actually completely cancel out the usefulness of that assistive technology. So, for example, I have a picture here of a learner just using a live scribe pen, which is one of those kind of recording pens I mentioned earlier. And those used to be very, very common. But I did used to hear from learners that they were very kind of obvious, I guess was the word that's coming to me, because they are quite large and they don't look like a quote unquote standard pen. So maybe some people might feel a little bit embarrassed or a little bit kind of self-conscious using them. And that's one of the reasons why AT is frequently abandoned. I mean, obviously, there's a bunch of different reasons, but it can include difficulties in incorporating that assistive technology into your kind of identity, your self-image, and into your kind of day-to-day life. So it can be very difficult. However, we have found that now that there's a lot of assistive technology built in to devices that learners are already using, it actually makes that kind of less perceptible, so to speak. Now, that's not to say, I think the girls on the panel earlier mentioned, some of them had a really, really great experience and great peers in their class, which was fantastic. So it does obviously depend on your own situation. And it's just one of those things that is important to mention. So I'm going to take a little bit of a pause. And if you are anything like me, you might have sat through that and went, oh God, that's a lot of things to think about. That's a lot of information. You might be feeling a little bit overwhelmed at this point. There's so many different assistive technologies out there, and everyone has their own opinions on them, which one's the best, which tool should work for this thing, excuse me. But actually, a lot of it is kind of it's personal and it's individual. No one's gonna know what you need, or no one can tell you what you need better than yourself. So what we at Ahead offer is something that can help you maybe in kind of coming to that choice and coming to that decision. So this is called the AT Hive. So the AT Hive is an assistive technology resource on the Ahead website, and it kind of helps you to figure out maybe what assistive technology might be helpful for you. It's actually a crowdsourced resource. So what I mean by that is that people actually submit items that they want to see on the AT Hive. So if you do have something or you use something that's not there, do let us know, write in, and we can add it there. Technology is changing so quick these days that, it's better to kind of have everyone collaborate to build this up. And you can get to this at ahead.ie/AT Hive, ATHIVE. Perfect. I think there's a link in there. So there is also, as part of the AT Hive, a kind of little quiz. So if you go specifically to the URL I'm about to say, so ahead.ie/discover your AT. It's on the screen there now, but maybe one of my colleagues might be kind enough to post that in the chat. But there's going to be 3 questions it's going to ask you. So the first question is going to be, what interests or what topics would you like to explore? So maybe if you're just starting in college, or maybe you're preparing for it and you're kind of wondering whether assistive technology may be useful for you, you can come here and you can explore that. So for example, I'm gonna, choose writing, organization, and revision maybe as our options. So we have, I think, about 12 options there. There's things like group work, there's things like brainstorming, reading, writing, magnification, and things like that, and study skills. So there's a variety of different things that you can look at to see if any assistive technology might help you. So that's question one. Question two is an optional one, but it's what devices do you use or what devices do you have? And this may be useful for if you are maybe in college and there's a specific laptop that you use for that, or maybe if you're still in school, maybe and they have an iPad that you can use or something like that. You can also just kind of almost skip this question by saying, oh, just, any device. So you can get all of those options. If you're not sure what device you're using either, because that's often something that might happen, maybe you don't know if you're using like an iPhone or an Android or whatever that may be, there is also an option for the website to actually just detect the device that you're on. So you can click the detect my device option and it will tell you what device you're on, and then you can see technologies that are compatible with that device, which is very handy. Then the third question, again, is an optional one, but it is talking about your digital ecosystem. So what I mean by that is, say, for example, when I first did my undergrad, the college gave us all Google email addresses, and with that came the Google suite of tools. So Google Drive, Google Documents, and all of that kind of thing. Whereas now in work, we have the Microsoft Office 365 suite. So I have Word, I have PowerPoint, and that kind of thing. So you can choose specifically which one you want to see for any tools that might be useful. Or you can choose kind of, whatever, either one works, technology that maybe works with both, or that maybe doesn't need one of those to work. So those are the three questions. And then you get a results page, and you can actually have this results page emailed to you. You can just type in your email and it will send you that, or you can view it here. And you can retake this quiz as many times as you want. Say if you have different kind of interests that you want to explore, or maybe you want to see what it looks like on a different device, you can do that. So I just have a little example results page here that I've seen. So I ticked that I wanted to look at revision and recall, writing, note-taking, and organization. I ticked that my devices were an Apple computer and Android phone, and then I ticked that no specific account was needed. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to come up with a list of technologies that are on the AT Hive that fit that criteria. So you can browse through the AT Hive yourself, or use these three questions to figure out what you need. And each item on the AT Hive has its own page. So it has the name of the item, whether it's free or whether there's a subscription or maybe a free trial. It usually has some information there about kind of what it can be used for. Then there's usually a video from the company's maybe YouTube account or whatever. And then there's also a little rating system as well, which I think is a fun feature of AT Hive. If you've used that technology, you can actually rate how well it worked for what you were using it for. And then that feeds in back to the AT Hive system and is really useful for other people who are maybe discovering different technologies that might work for them. So I think I'm just going to stop there now. And how am I doing for time, Quiva?
You're doing good. You have about 13 minutes left, but because we started early, I'd say we can just leave some time for questions if there is
Okay,
any, and then take our break. Take a longer
perfect.
break than
So
anticipated.
yeah, what I might do then is I might just open up the Discover AT tool just to show you all how that works and what that kind of looks like. Uh the link is in the chat anyway. Thank you to my wonderful colleagues. They're on the ball today. Um, so I can pop that up and show you what that results page looks like. So, and feel free if you have any questions, do let me know. I'm happy to answer any sort of questions you may have. Um, so let me share this there now. Okay. So I've gone to the ahead.ie/discover your AT website. And I'm just going to scroll down now and I'll show you that. So there's a little video basically going through what I just went through there just to let you know. And I'm going to click on the button that says Find Assistive Technology. So, question one, what interests would you like to explore today? So, I'll do something different today. I'll do maybe spelling and grammar, working together, and my mindset. So, I'd like tips about helping me to get in the right frame of mind, um, tools to help me work with others on projects, and interested in ways to help my spelling. So, I'm going to click on next question, and it's asking me what device do I use. So I'm going to click a Microsoft Surface, a Windows computer, and an Android tablet, just for random. Next question, which of these do you use? A Microsoft account, a Google account, or no specific account needed? So I'm going to click no specific account, and I'm going to click show my results. And you'll see then that there's a very similar page that was shown in the slideshow. So it has my interests up here, just confirms what choices I picked. And then I have options to view all the results, just the free tools, the free basic tools, but you've got to pay for more options, the tools where you get a free trial before you pay, and then the tools that are only paid. And if I scroll down, I can enter my email here to get an email of the results, or I can redo it. So I'm going to scroll down again and see, okay, with current search and filters, it's matched 13 of 53 records. So there's 13 different tools here that it's recommending that I might want to check out. So I'm going to try maybe go to Grammarly here. So, okay, Grammarly, sometimes spelling and grammar can be supported. Grammarly can bring you options about how to spell words, but also how to use them in sentence structures. So I'm going to click on, okay, tell me more. Tell me more about Grammarly. And it brings me to this information page, like I said, with a bunch of different bits of information there. So it talks about the key features. It has a little screenshot kind of how it's working, a demonstration of Grammarly in action, the Grammarly website, and then advice on using so that's what the AT Hive and Discover Your AT tool does. We hope that you find it useful. And again, if you do have anything that you're using maybe that you don't see on the AT Hive, we'd encourage you to submit a technology suggestion. So if I go to the main AT Hive page and I scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's options for their donate a technology suggestion. So you can go here, you could fill in this Word template and send it to us, and we can add that to the AT Hive and keep building this free resource for everyone. So I'll stop sharing there now. I see, I don't think there's any questions that haven't been answered yet. Let me
No, I
double
haven't
check.
seen any in the Q&A or in the chat. Thank you, Danielle. That was amazing. Really, really beneficial as always. You're just such a great speaker.
Thank you.
Um,